I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our chaplain if he would open our meeting with prayer.
Let us pray. Father God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for all you do for us. We ask you now to just use us to do your will. We ask you now to special blessing on our county, especially our seniors, dear Lord, and our youth. Touch our lives and let everyone see you in our life, dear Lord. Help us to make decisions to be pleasing in your sight. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Glad to have all y'all in attendance this morning. Freedom of Information announcement in accordance with South Carolina Code of Law 1976 is amended. The Marion Star Mullins Enterprise has been notified of the date, time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Item 4, approval of the minutes for May 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? The ayes have it. Item 5, recess our regular meeting and open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? The ayes have it.
Members of council, those in attendance, we have 2 items for public hearing today. I'll start with item A. This is ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance authorizing the county to lease the tillable acreage, 131 acres more or less, on Marion County tax parcel number 055-00-00-008-000 to Jimmy B. Calder pursuant to the terms of the attached farm lease, to ratify the county administrator's prior execution of the same, and to authorize all other matters related thereto. Is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll move on to item B. Ordinance 2024-08, an ordinance authorizing the county to lease the tillable acreage, 118 acres more or less, on Marion County tax parcel number 055-00-00-026-000 to Strickland Farms pursuant to the terms of the attached farm lease, to ratify the county administrator's prior execution of the same, and to authorize all of the matters related thereto. Is anybody in attendance that wishes to speak for or against this order? Hearing none, that would conclude our necessity of a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. I'd like to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? The ayes have it. Item 7, a resolution.
I'm not aware of anything new we have. I know we still have that pending one for Mr. Leggett. I haven't received any information for it yet to do that one.
A couple of weeks ago, Kip Hurlong was put in the Hall of Fame for baseball coaches, state of South Carolina. And I'd like for Marion County to recognize him with a resolution of appreciation for what he's done for Marion County and what he has brought to Marion County.
That inform a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
I had the great privilege of playing against him, starting off with our little league team, and we used to beat up on them, and we got to high school, and my pitcher, Josh Cribb, left. When we were in 10th grade to go to Lakeview, and that tipped the scales. We went back and forth from the T-ball, that same group, all the way until high school. That baseball field that they have that's connected to a football field that stole the game when he's going to run for us. So, yeah, he was a great coach, great mentor to young people, encouraging all the players, really good guy. I wholeheartedly support this motion.
Any further discussion? Got a motion, got a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? The ayes have it, motion carries.
I have a resolution I'd like to, a motion I'd like to make. We're gonna honor Miss Katie Graves from the Brits Net community. She turned 400 years old. Longtime member of Bethel Anglican Church, longtime member of Hattie's chapter of Eastern Star. A wonderful person involved in young people's lives for over 6-7 decades in the community, particularly working with the young people at the church. Second.
Got a motion, got a second discussion. Let me just say, she swings a bad whip too. Because she has spanked me before. 66 years ago. But I got a motion, got a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. Ordinances.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. We have a few items up for today. Item A is still on hold, so that'll take me to item B. It's third reading of ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance authorizing the county to lease the tillable acreage, 131 acres more or less on Marion County tax parcel number 055-00-00-008-000 to be called over pursuant to the terms of the attached farm lease to ratify the county administrator's prior execution of the same and to authorize all of the matters related thereto. You've had a full copy of that ordinance actually since first reading. We just take action on third reading, please.
So move. Second.
Motion second.
Quick question, just want to clarify, there's a lot of farmers in Marion County asking questions about this, that was attending the recent, Young Farmers of America meeting, at the Grange Hall. So is this a year-to-year contract? Or is this contract going to be renewed automatically till the county starts to develop the project?
This is set up to be 1 year, and this was bid out as well.
Thank you, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, please let the record, I know that our lawyer just said that it had been bid out. We bid out all our procedures pertaining to anything to do with our property.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Item C, third reading of ordinance 2024-08, an ordinance authorizing the county to lease the tillable acreage, 118 acres more or less on Marion County tax parcel number 055-00-00-026-000 to Strickland Farm pursuant to the terms of the attached farm lease. Ratify the county administrator's prior execution of the same and to authorize all of the matters related thereto. You've also had a full copy of that ordinance since first reading as well. Need to take action on third reading, please.
So move. Second.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Item D, second reading of ordinance 2024-09, fiscal year budget 2024-2025. You have a full copy of that in front of you. We just need to take action on second reading, please.
So move. Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
For item E, just to remind you and those in attendance, there is no action that needs to be taken. Simply reading the title for first reading is sufficient. First reading of ordinance 2024-10, an ordinance authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws, South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of an amended fee in lieu and ad valorem tax and economic development agreement by and between Marion County, South Carolina, and Fox Hollow Solar LLC, and any sponsor affiliates with respect to certain economic development property in the county, whereby such property will be subject to certain payments in lieu of taxes, authorizing that certain First Amendment to the 2024 incentive agreement by and between Fox Hollow Solar LLC and Marion County, South Carolina, and other matters related thereto. That's all I have.
Item 9, committee reports. Committee number 1 has no report at this time. As far as I know, there's nothing before that committee.
No, sir.
Item number 2, Mr. Tenney. All right, item 10, legal update.
The only thing I have for you in this section, I just want to restate something I said at the last meeting, was half of it was correct, half of it was incorrect. During our discussion of the inmate housing process, I had mentioned how unfortunate it was that this was blown out of proportion based on some of the numbers that were there, what the costs were there. And then talking about the numbers I talked to Mr. Floyd about, Mr. Jimmy Floyd, way back when this thing first started, which was about 18 months ago. That the number from Marion, I misstated in my comments last meeting that that was a 1-year term. He was looking at it was about $2,800 worth of cost. The number is correct, 2,800 was correct, but the term was actually for 6 months, not for the year. So I just want to make sure my words are reflected on the record correctly of what they should have been. Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, you said 27, so you said 27.
27 or 2,800, right? It's somewhere in there. That's right. So it's is it 2,700
I
or
put 27.
do you recall? It again, it doesn't really matter.
Okay,
For my point was it's such an insignificant amount for the term. And I wanted to make sure I set the term right because the term was supposed to have been 6 months is what Jimmy looked at and not a full year. So I just want to make sure I got that right.
Mr. Chairman. I'd like for the record to reflect that I do have proxy for the NT.
Thank you. Let that be noted.
Mr. Chair, if you may, Mr. Attorney, what's been the update, with moving forward with the order?
On the inmate housing stuff,
Yes.
well, we're gonna do it by resolution is what we had discussed.
Okay.
And Mr. Floyd, he's actually the next one on the agenda. He has a few little updates from some other meetings that have taken place. And then once we do that, our thought was to bring it before you for a resolution the next meeting. To get that done.
Mr. Chairman, the record also reflected, I have Robert Turner's proxy.
Item 11, Jimmy Floyd.
Chairman, gentlemen of the council. Mr. Chairman, gentlemen of the council, my sole purpose today here is from the meeting conducted approximately a week ago with the city of Marion and city of Mullins to provide some additional clarification and also to answer any additional questions the council may have regarding inmate housing. What the county attorney has stated is correct. It's some 18 months ago when I first ran the numbers. It was run for 6 months. I looked back to see if I could find those numbers. I could not. It was some $2,800. I have run those numbers again from 11/1 of 2023 through May the 30th of 2024. The cost as currently proposed in the ordinance for the city of Marion would have been $12,980, which is a significant increase from the original numbers that were run back during COVID. The city of Mullins remained basically the same at $1,540 for the 7-month period. City of Sellers and Nichols would have had no cost at all. The other clarification that was requested from that meeting was whether or not the county would charge for sentenced inmates. The ordinance as proposed, the answer to that question is yes. That is the clarification of the language that the county attorney is going to make to the ordinance before bringing it back to y'all for the first reading. And the last clarification that was requested by the city was it was stated that all except for 2 counties currently have an agreement that covers this because it is required by law. The clarification was, to the best of my knowledge and the research that I have done in it, roughly 60% of those counties that have the agreements are charging the daily housing fee. Not all of them except the 2 that do not have it. Those were the clarifications that were requested from the meeting. Those clarifications have been made. Anything further would be me answering any additional questions that the council may have at this point in time regarding municipal inmate housing.
Say that again, about 60%.
Of the counties that have the municipal inmate housing agreement, roughly 60% of the counties that have the agreement are charging a daily fee for housing those municipal inmates. Not all of them are.
Mr. Jen, how much is that, do you know?
It varies from county to county. It is entirely dependent upon the council to determine what that fee will be. Some counties have agreements that have been in place for 15, 20 years and they've never been updated, and the fee is as low as $35. Other counties have fees that range up to $75 to $85 per day. As you well know, the ordinance as proposed for Marion County is $55 per day, starting on the 7th day. The actual figures, just for clarification, determined by the South Carolina Department of Corrections and also the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. South Carolina Department of Corrections has done a 20+ year study on the housing cost of inmates. Most recent year data that is available is 2023, and the $103 and some change per day, their figure to house an inmate. The most recent data from the U.S. Bureau of Prisons and Department of Justice is $116 and change per day to house an inmate. So the county is being, in my opinion, quite fair and reasonable with what has been proposed in this ordinance.
Ms. Adams.
Yeah, and you say you've done a lot of research on this. What's the average number of days that they coordinate? I doubt all of them are 3 or 5 or 7. You got some kind of data?
Well, I do. During the 7-month period that we ran the numbers for the city of Marion, there were 133 inmates that were booked in that would have, under this ordinance and under the law, been classified as municipal inmates. Of that 133, the entire cost came from 16 inmates that were left in jail anywhere up to 40 days on municipal charges. City of Mullins booked in 78 municipal inmates and would have only been charged for 5. Their average was about 11 days.
Okay, you said you got all that data across the state.
No, this is data specific to Marion County. Data across the state as far as how many days the average stay is.
No, I'm not worried about the average day. I'm talking about what their policy or their agreement said. But you said 60% have an agreement.
No, nearly every county, all of the counties except for 2 have an agreement. 60% of those are charging
But that's
a fee.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The fee part is what they're concerned with. What is the average that is there a uniform 3 day, 5 day, 7? So you don't have any idea?
Yes, the vast, if you're talking about the grace period, if I understand correctly, the grace period, yes. The average grace period across the state is 3 days. And the county is not, as proposed, the ordinance for this county would not double that, would not start charging until the 7th day.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes,
just want to clarify a couple of things. The other cities were invited to that meeting. They just did not show up. Just want to make sure that's on the record.
to my knowledge, that
They
is
were.
correct.
Yes, it is.
City of Marion, City of Mullins, City of Nichols, and City of Sellers were all invited.
So when it comes to this fee, in terms of how much is charged, I think it's pretty clear that the state that has the 4 different types of communities: urban, exurban, suburban, and rural. And so based on the county size and activities, the fee will be different. What we have come to an agreement on, I think, is a good deal that everyone didn't necessarily want initially, but we compromised to come to a conclusion based on a policy decision that's in the best interest of Marion County. So you made an interesting comment. You said it comes out to be about $12,000 a year for the city of Marion.
That wasn't a year, that was.
That was for 7 months. That's
7
correct.
months,
That
okay.
was, we ran the numbers for 7 months. We initially ran them for 6 months. And because the meeting hit right after the end of May, we went back and added May.
So what accounts for, in your professional opinion, the significant difference between the city of Marion and the city of Mullins?
The difference is in the bonds set by the judges for the city of Marion. compared to the bond set by the judges for the city of Mullins.
And so are these bonds not being set, the bonds being set in the city of Mullins being set faster than they are?
No, sir. Law in South Carolina requires that unless there is a written request for extension, all bonds must be set within 24 hours of arrest. The difference comes in what the bond is set at and how the bond is set. If you set a bond for a municipal charge at $3,000 surety bond, then someone has to come up with $3,000 or $3,000 worth of property to get out for a municipal charge. If you set the fine, for example, as a cash fine of $237.50, which is the cash fine that goes with the charge of public disorderly conduct, then someone can pay $237 and be released. It's simply in whether you set a higher bond because it's a minor charge, you give them a personal recognizance bond, or you set a cash bond that determines the difference in how long someone stays in jail for these minor charges.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got one other. When y'all, and I know you said something about nickels and celery, they don't use the jail.
They do, but it is very minor. During that same 7-month time period, the city of Nichols booked in 2 inmates that would have been considered municipal inmates, and neither one of those 2 stayed beyond the 6-day period to be charged. The city of Sellers only booked 1 in.
They get theirs out pretty quick.
Well, they're booking a much smaller number.
Yeah.
There are a number of reasons that could be the result from that. The majority of what they may be doing, many municipal charges, the officer has the discretion to charge them on a uniform traffic ticket. There is a whole list of violations outside of traffic violations that the state had determined through statute can be charged on a uniform traffic ticket. Just for example, public drunkenness, public disorderly conduct, trespassing are just a few examples of what can be charged on a uniform traffic ticket. If an officer chooses to put those charges, or the policy from that department or that city or that county is to put those charges on a uniform traffic ticket, then the officer also has the discretion of whether to put a cash fine on that ticket and require them to come back to court on a certain date, or whether to take them to jail and require that bond be posted. The city of Sellers and Nichols, the majority of the charges they may be making, they may be issuing citations with a court date for them to come back to court instead of bringing them to jail. That's something that's beyond my knowledge. That's just a way that they could be bringing so many lists, in addition to the fact that they're much smaller.
Well, how about on the county? Is yours done differently than the cities? Are there different requirements as far as days?
No,
Y'all really trying to get yours out to 3 days also.
yes, the county judges do. Again, bond must be set within 24 hours. But yes, the majority of the minor charged inmates that are put in jail from either the highway patrol or the county or any of the other state agencies that all go in front of the magistrate's office, the vast majority of time they are released within just a few days on bond.
How long are some of these people on minor charges are staying in the detention center?
The vast majority of them only stay a few days. But we have that certain group that cannot make the bond that has been set, and they end up staying anywhere from 15 to 30 days.
And that's 3 meals a day.
Correct. And medical and medication if they're on medication. And hence that is why the county has chosen to propose the $55 a day fee.
Any other questions? I just you know, we had that meeting the other day down here, and when we left, it was my understanding that everybody agreed with what the cities and the county, they come to an agreement, but we didn't, or it's not agreeable with the city council of Marion. Mayor called me last night, and I've had other calls from the council members, and they would like to see 10 days. And I know we agreed on 7.
If I may,
You
Mr.
may.
Chairman, and again, I attended the meeting also, and from our, from the completion of the meeting, I too, felt that we had all come to an agreement. I've spoken with, Mr. Ammons, the city administrator, and he did not communicate to me that there was a difference or that his council, did not agree upon that. So I am unaware of,
Well, that's why I'm bringing it to light.
yes, sir, and I don't know. After our meeting, I'm not sure why that should have been, because we all agreed at that last meeting, including the city administrator.
I know.
The
Mr. Fox,
Is this the city of Marion and Bullens or just the city of Marion?
is Marion, what I'm talking.
We haven't heard any objection from the city of Bullens.
No, sir.
Well, it's not about whatever their objections are. This council came together in good faith amongst ourselves, and we came to some final terms and some final numbers. And that's what the policy should be. Because we're trying to solve an issue that the sheriff and the detention center director brought to us that we were unaware of. And once we were made aware of it, we went through a thorough process amongst ourselves to study the issue. And then we came together with some numbers. And those numbers are going to benefit the business of operating this detention center for the benefit of the entire county. And that's what we need to stick with. Don't need to have anybody meddling in our affairs, because we don't meddle in anyone else's individual city affairs. We have numbers, we have terms. We came to an agreement on it together. That's what we need to act on.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Flo.
You're very welcome.
Item 12, Maddie's Fund, animal shelter.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Dr. Sarah Pisano. I am representing Maddie's Million Pet Challenge, and I'm here with my teammate Cameron Moore. We provide pro bono shelter consults for animal welfare organizations around the United States, largely municipal shelters just like yours. I myself was director over my 30-year career in animal welfare at a public shelter. So I am very aware of the challenges that you're facing in your community. For the last 11 years, we have been helping shelters and helping reimagine the animal welfare system. So we cannot house all the animals at will that are in need in our communities. And as you are all tasked to do by your state statute, provide for public and animal safety and have a very robust live outcome program. That means euthanasia is reserved for those animals that are medically suffering or community unsafe large dogs. So there will always be euthanasia. But we are here providing you this pro bono consult. We've done a lot of work in South Carolina. I think this is our 7th consult over the years in South Carolina. What we've found is wherever we are, large urban population, rural, high poverty rate area, guess what? The challenges you're facing are the same. The only difference is scale. And what we found is that the solutions work everywhere. So instead of writing the same report over and over, I published the best practice playbook for animal shelters. So I will leave you a copy. And that's what we're doing here this week. We have, over the years, tried to fit into this broken system of sheltering all animals in need. And one thing that we look at is how can we help people and pets in ways other than shelter intake? As you can imagine, no different than social services with people. It is much more effective and much less expensive if you're helping, say, a person struggling to keep their home, whether it's rented or owned. It's much cheaper, more effective, and better to help them keep that home rather than they become houseless and then you have to provide housing for them, right? So it's the same thing with animals. So we will be making a lot of recommendations, but we have to say the reason we are here is because we're so impressed with Brianna's leadership and her willingness to ask for help and see what other ideas are out there. You have so many great things happening with your program. You have a very supportive nonprofit, hugely important. This is about effective public-private partnerships. You have a cat program that actually reduces complaints in the community because those cats are getting sterilized and not creating those nuisance behaviors. And we can't say enough good things about the leadership at the shelter, but we will be making recommendations about the operation. We'll be looking at your ordinances and we'll have recommendations for this new phase of construction because there are ways you can reduce liability for your staff and volunteers and have a more efficient sanitation system. So we're happy that we're here before the new construction begins. I would like to ask you if you have any questions for us. Otherwise, we will be meeting with Chavis later this afternoon and we'll provide an addendum to this playbook in terms of recommendations, but our program is pro bono for a year. So even after this time, if you all have questions or concerns, we are here for you and your community.
Thank you. Any questions?
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're happy to be here. And Cameron, is there anything else you wanted to add? Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I will leave this book for you. Okay.
Item 13, administrative update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members, and those of you who are in attendance. I just have a few updates. As a reminder, we will be closed June 19th in observance of Juneteenth. I just want to remind the county offices will be closed on June 19th. Also, councilmen, before you, Ms. Sabrina Davis has provided the board appointees for different boards. Right now, we are in need of the beautification board, and there are a few others, if you want to flip through, that are vacant. So if you could please appoint, we need 2 members for the beautification from each district. So if you could please get that name either to myself or Miss Sabrina Davis, and we can make those contacts. Also, I wanted to give a brief landfill update. As you are aware, the county took over the landfill back in April. We hadn't had the landfill in over 20 years. So now the landfill is a part of the county, and those revenues are county now. It is not a third party. So that's going to be a big help for our county. And right now, as of the month of May. Because we just had a full month of May. We kind of started mid-April, had a full month of May, and now we're in June. But for the month of May, we made $36,050.15 for the month of May. We are averaging about $1,200 to $1,500 a day. So I just wanted to give you that. Our total tonnage between April, mid-April, full May, and half of June now is about 1,436,440 tons. So we are excited about that. We will be doing more with our landfill, adding more services, just a lot more updates to come. So we, again, thank council for your support in helping to get this landfill back. It's a big success for Marion County.
And that's net profit.
Yes, sir. Also before you, we have two proclamations that we will need approval for. The first is the Ignite Her chapter, the ABWA Ignite Her chapter, and also a proclamation for fatherhood. Those proclamations I have sent to you and they are in front of you, and we do need a motion approval.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Those are all the updates that I have.
That's it.
Thank you.
Requests and comments by council members. I'd like to wish Oscar and Alan and Robin good luck on their elections today. Hopefully we won't be looking at a new face.
Mr. Chairman, I got one question, and I guess when we started this discussion about the jail, there was a question about an agreement or an ordinance. So we decided we're going with the ordinance now.
No, sir, not unless that's changed since we last talked.
What I'm saying.
It's an agreement across the board. Rather, the way that you effectuate that is either by resolution or by ordinance.
Mhm.
The basis for not using the ordinance and about half of the counties that are out there that have these agreements in place now, which is all but two, half of them are by resolution, half are by ordinance. And the reason for not using the ordinance route is because that way it's not something that comes up every year for the term of whatever that was, and you have to rehash this all the time. You just put it out there by resolution. These are the terms of any agreement with the county for inmate housing, and that's it. So it's pretty rock solid that way.
I have one other thing. It's a thank you card from Ms. Ryland Marsh. She says, to the members of Marion County Council, thank you so much for the 2024 Board of Directors Scholarship. It will definitely help me as I continue my educational journey at CCU. I plan to make Marion County proud and return home to make it strong. Ryland Marsh.
Very good.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, let me thank 4 people who work with Marion Fire. Mr. Kevin Hammond, Mr. Timothy Smith, Mr. Josh Versey, and Mr. Chuck Bunderberg, who participated in helping another fire department with some training and certification. That's important to the growth of that fire department. They were outstanding. They took a lot of their time. The group that I participated in, we were out there until about 10:30, I think, that night. So they stayed long past their time to help with that effort. So I want to thank them for their consideration and their time and their expertise in making sure that the training and towards the final certification took place. Question to the administrator: when some of our boards, once they come to some final decisions, particularly like the Planning Commission, do they communicate that to you?
Normally, they'll communicate it to Ms. Sabrina or myself. For example, the Appropriations Board, once they have their final numbers, they did communicate that to Ms. Sabrina, and she then passed that information along to me. But we haven't had any, since my term the Appropriations Board is the only one that has made any decisions thus far that would affect, other than the, Progress Board, Marion County Progress, which I'm a member of.
I think would it be good to kind of get some kind of update from them, particularly like when the RV park plans were approved. I heard about that from third party instead of hearing it directly from county communication. So I think it'd be good if we can get some kind of update about what they're doing and not just try to rely on our individual members who are on the board. So it can be something formal and standard across
Sure.
the board.
Yes, sir.
Last thing, I have a request. I brought this up maybe 2 months ago. The road going to the 10 yards, what they call Woodbury, where there's a lot of fishing and hunting going on. That road needs some serious intervention at a spot where there's an entry. There's 2 cemeteries there. And right in the middle, Mr. Frazier, I think most people call him Zeke, came down on a Saturday to look at it with me. And he made the recommendation of what it needs to fix that particular road. There's a lot of traffic coming through there. People with boats, people with ATVs, other large vehicles, as well as timber company. And then you have people coming for funerals. And that spot is really causing an issue. The water's not flowing to the outfall ditches anymore. And it really needs some serious intervention.
Can you give me the name of the road again, please?
Yes, it's Old Neck Cemetery. It's right across from 378.
Fire tower.
Fire tower. That's all that I have.
All right. Is there any need for an executive session?
No, sir.
All right. Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.